Let's dive into this explainer. We're uncovering a highly lucrative digital economy hiding right in plain sight. Imagine pulling in 60 grand a month in ad revenue as a 22-year-old college dropout. Crazy, right? The wildest part? You earn this massive passive income while your audience is literally fast asleep. The secret? It's the Faceless channel, a totally camera-free, highly scalable business model. Zero on-screen presence needed. You're basically trading exhausting influencer burnout and expensive gear for total privacy and almost zero production costs. Welcome to the sleep niche. Creators are using simple ambient soundscapes like rain or fires to build serious wealth. 10 hours. That's how long these run. They generate effortless engagement while the viewers just catch some Z's. Since people sleep right through them, ad impressions effortlessly stack up over massive year-round watch times. So, how does this actually translate to cash? Well, it's all about RPM, your earnings per thousand views. Surprisingly, the earnings per thousand views on ambient sleep audio completely crushes traditional gaming content. Just wow. Why? Because wellness brands and sleep apps actually pay premium ad rates to target this super relaxed demographic. Real people are pulling this off. Adavea Davis makes up to 60 grand a month doing exactly this. And Lo-Fi Girl, she proves a simple animated loop can generate massive 24/7 passive monthly revenue. These creators absolutely prove this silent ambient goldmine is not only highly lucrative, it's incredibly real. The absolute best part, you don't need expensive gear, a fancy studio, or an outgoing on-camera personality. Here's your blueprint, literally 3 simple steps to launch your very own faceless ambient channel today. But to win, you gotta stay consistent, use tools correctly, and prioritize quality over mass-produced AI spam. It definitely takes patience. Treat it like a real business investment to hit that monetization threshold. So I'll leave you with this. Will you tap into the silent goldmine of ambient sleep sounds?
Welcome to this explainer. Let's look at the state of 2026, where AI, data, and culture are totally colliding.
So, what defines 2026? Is it hyper-advanced AI workflows or our desperate craving for human escapism?
Well, the data shows it's actually both. We're living through 2 massive, completely contradictory paradigm shifts right now.
We're talking the AI takeover, a pivot to precision, escaping the grind, and finally, the human element.
Theme 1, the AI takeover. The sheer scale of tech reshaping our daily workflows is just wild. In finance, integrated digital ecosystems and AI are now absolutely core strategic enablers, according to Financial Management magazine.
Get this, an astonishing 91% of PR professionals have already integrated generative AI into their workflows.
Decision's 2026 report shows they're heavily relying on AI for ideation, writing content, and monitoring the media.
Theme 2 is the pivot to precision. Alongside automation, businesses are desperately demanding hard, measurable data.
PR executives are ditching vague brand awareness. Instead, they're demanding rock-solid metrics like revenue and ROI.
We see this exact pivot in finance, too. Professionals are super stressed over subjective cost of capital calculations.
So analysts use tools like WACC Finder to stop guessing WACC using biased historical data or basic banker rates.
Theme 3, cultural escapism. After crunching those precise metrics all day, how are professionals actually unwinding?
To escape the daily grind, they're diving headfirst into dark, deadly thrillers and super dramatic romance novels.
The Goodreads most popular list is literally dominated by sensational escapist fiction, like Yesteryear and Dear Debbie.
And finally, Theme 4, the human element. Despite all these tech leaps, our craving for human storytelling remains.
In fact, even with massive AI adoption, Cision reports storytelling is still the most in-demand skill today.
So, the winning 2026 playbook? Blend intelligent automation and precise data with your totally irreplaceable human creativity.
As you navigate this crazy shift, how will you leverage AI to elevate your own human storytelling?
Let's dive into this explainer on why your massive 50-slide financial presentations are literally putting the board to sleep. Seriously, executive leaders completely ignore massive data dumps, no matter how hard you worked on them. Why? Because executive decision-making is rooted in emotion. Pure data, it just gets lost in the noise. So instead of those massive data dumps, the best CFOs out there rely on vivid, engaging narratives. A giant wall of numbers kills audience attention instantly. But a strong narrative structure, that actively retains it. Like Deloitte says, true influence hinges on an emotional connection, not just robotic recitation of the P&DL. To fix this, use bluff, bottom, line, up, front. Always state your main insight right off the bat. Picture this trap. You spend 20 straight minutes just reading bullet points about Q3 revenue growth. The CEO completely zones out, missing the critical budget request you hit at the very end. Ouch. Top CFOs in 2026 completely avoid this trap. How? By mastering a specific storytelling framework. It's called the 3Ds: details, dialogue, and drama. It perfectly humanizes that complex financial data. These steps literally turn boring variance analysis into a vivid, credible narrative people actually remember. Don't just say expenses rose. Use dialogue and details to explain exactly why and what's next. Package those details using the rule of 3. Structure the message so executives can easily absorb it. The ultimate goal here? Stop merely reporting the past and start actively shaping the future. Translating flat numbers into human narratives builds instant trust. It positions you as a strategic partner. So rewrite your next executive summary today using the 3Ds to drive fast, confident decisions. The data is ready. How will you rewrite your next summary to truly shape the future?
Welcome to our explainer on 2026. We're diving into a totally unexpected paradox today.
So what connects corporate finance, PR, and best-selling thrillers this year? Let's find out.
It's the wild intersection of advanced AI and our deep craving for human intuition. The AI takeover is here, guys. A massive 91% of PR pros now rely on generative AI.
Over in finance, AI is literally powering digital ecosystems and driving agile, hybrid teams.
AI isn't just hype anymore. It's doing the heavy lifting, generating ideas and churning out content.
But wait, there's a huge gap. XX think their companies are agile, while frontline workers totally disagree.
Why? Well, rigid corporate structures and agonizingly slow approvals are just holding teams back.
This perfectly captures the human struggle. Calculating complex stuff like WACC, still a massive headache.
Figuring out cost of capital is deeply subjective. Tech falls short, so we still seek human advice.
People make mistakes, like using standard loan rates instead of factoring in the actual business risk.
So we absolutely still need human intuition to navigate the mess and find the right inputs.
Get this. Despite all the tech, 59% of PR pros say human storytelling is their top skill. It just proves that even numbers-driven corporate ROI still relies heavily on raw human narratives.
You can see this craving in 2026's top books, which are packed with domestic thrillers.
Hits like Dear Debbie and Yesteryear reveal a huge cultural appetite for messy human drama.
We're just fascinated by betrayal, connection, and all the unpredictable curveballs life throws at us.
So here's the bottom line. Success today means blending hard data intelligence with creative storytelling. You literally have to pair powerful analytical tools with the human insight that makes a story pop.
So, how will you delegate to AI while actually elevating your own unique human insight?
Okay, let's dive right in. Did you know your AI content could literally cost your business billions? The recent $1.5 billion settlement against Anthropic? Yeah, that officially ended the unvetted AI scraping era. And it gets worse. The EU AI Act is stepping up, ready to fine you 7% of global turnover. So that whole ask for forgiveness later mindset, it just smashed into a billion-dollar brick wall. We're rapidly shifting gears here. The AI hype phase is over, and we're entering an era of aggressive accountability. Look at this timeline. By 2026, a massive unified regulatory net of new AI laws will close completely worldwide. What do they all demand? Complete dataset transparency, absolute bans on illicit scraping, and mandatory labels on synthetic content. Here's the trap. If your vendor used pirated datasets, that orphan data exposes your entire enterprise to massive liability. Imagine your marketing team launches a huge AI campaign, but legal immediately rips it down over copyright fears. Nightmare! The core legal problem is surprisingly simple. If you can't prove exactly where your assets came from, you can't publish. Under the EU AI Act, basic transparency is totally mandatory. You literally have to treat AI like critical software. Meanwhile, India requires synthetic output to display a prominent visual marker covering a full 10% of the screen. So what's the fix? Digital provenance. Proving the origin of your media is now a strict legal requirement everywhere. You absolutely must adopt standards like C2PA. This embeds machine-readable metadata to securely prove the integrity of your media. To protect your business right now, implement a mandatory metadata tracking and compliance checklist for your team today. First, demand vendor data integrity attestations. Confirm no pirated data was used, shifting the liability directly back to them. Next, inventory everything. Map out all your shadow AI and establish clear incident protocols. You can't govern what's unknown. Also, you've got to stop the automated work slop. Require a strict human-in-the-loop for any content or major business decisions. So, before you publish any AI assets, ask yourself, is your next post a marketing campaign or a legal confession? Listen, if you think AI is just for drafting emails, you're already way behind. Welcome to This Explainer. By 2026, the finance world completely ditched basic, prompt-driven AI. So the real question is, are you actually ready for the era of agentic AI? Agentic AI means autonomous systems that literally don't wait around for your instructions to act. Unlike generative AI that needs a prompt, these agentic systems have real, independent transactional power. They're actively monitoring markets, settling routine trades, and even investigating fraud entirely on their own. The ROI is insane. This tech drops reporting cycles from 14 days down to just 4. Let's look at exactly what this shift means for you right now in the real world. You're spending all week manually reconciling accounts, pulling your hair out over giant, messy spreadsheets. Meanwhile, a competitor's AI agent flags a weird anomaly and automatically emails the client for clarification. By morning, the AI corrects the ledger perfectly, all while your competitor is literally fast asleep. That autonomous workflow delivers a staggering 80% drop in variance analysis time. It's huge. You've got to move from manual data processing to strategic advisory and oversight right now. Like Dan Meshke from Brex says, the chart is just an artifact. The insight is the product. So here's your homework. Identify one totally repetitive data entry task sitting on your desk today. Next, research how an autonomous agentic system can handle it, freeing you up to think strategically. But remember, AI is your co-pilot, not an autopilot. We humans still govern the core assumptions. So what repetitive task are you going to hand over to an autonomous system today?
Welcome to This Explainer. Are you grinding for 3 hours a day but still totally bombing your exams? You're exhausted from those evening textbook marathons, but here's the crazy part. Your brain is secretly deleting everything.
It's called cognitive depletion. Honestly, it's not a motivation issue, it's a hard neurological limit after working all day. So look, trying to cram complex new stuff at 9 p.m., yeah, that gets you absolutely zero retention.
The fix? Well, the huge 2026 EdTech shift completely ditches marathon study sessions for something way smarter.
Top professionals are jumping straight into AI-guided micropractice and literally building digital second brain systems.
That means swapping hours of boring reading for hyper-focused 15 to 20-minute rapid practice bursts.
Think about it. Your human memory shouldn't be a storage drive. That's exactly what digital systems are for.
Check this out. While you're blindly rereading textbooks, your competition is crushing targeted AI microdrills.
They use smart tracking to spend 75% of their time aggressively attacking their weakest topics. Game changer.
See, mental discomfort is your brain's learning signal. If your studying feels super easy, you aren't actually improving.
So you're probably wondering, how do we actually build one of these second brains today?
Step 1. Grab a digital capture app to log your weak spots. Stop relying on your tired memory.
Step 2, fire up some AI tools to instantly generate practice questions, hitting those exact weak spots. Step 3, track your performance data by topic. Seriously, never waste time relearning what you already know.
Try this schedule. Save the heavy, complex new material for weekends when your mental battery is fully charged.
Then, use your weekdays strictly for quick micro-reviews right on your phone, like during your commute.
Because passing exams isn't about being a genius or losing sleep. It's literally all about better targeting. The choice is yours. Will you keep burning out, or will you build a second brain to win?
Let's dive in and decode the massive structural shifts completely reshaping the financial sector by 2026.
Here's the scary part. Old school strategies, like relying on classic stock-bond correlations, are totally breaking down.
We're covering three things: the technology catalyst, the portfolio evolution, and the rise of the OCIO.
Now, core principles like systematic risk still govern your maximum loss, but the execution has radically changed.
Pillar 1, the technology catalyst. Guys, tech isn't just a tool anymore, it's a massive force multiplier.
Blending deep human insight with AI's massive data crunching creates a hyper-efficient, diversified alpha engine.
Scalable computing means AI risk models and portfolio simulations that used to take hours literally happen in milliseconds.
Plus, digital ecosystems use blockchain rails to bridge traditional and decentralized finance, hunting down the absolute best yields.
Pillar 2, the portfolio evolution. Let's see how public and private markets are blurring together for better returns.
The ideal institutional portfolio now shifts heavy capital, putting a full 20% into infrastructure and private credit.
Institutions gladly accept this lockup period to capture the illiquidity premium, boosting returns while actually lowering portfolio volatility.
But surprisingly, the U.S. wealth market is wildly underallocated. Only 4% is invested in private markets today.
Luckily, ETF wrappers let everyday investors do what wealthy families do: focus entirely on capital preservation and downside protection.
Buffett's staggering $382 billion cash fortress is a massive warning signal. Prioritize capital preservation over chasing crazy high valuations.
Pillar 3, the structural shift. Let's look at the dramatic change in who actually manages all this money.
The Outsourced Chief Investment Office, or OCIO, lets endowments and wealthy families seamlessly delegate their portfolios to experts.
The scale is mind-blowing. U.S. OCIO assets are projected to skyrocket to $6 trillion by 2029.
Meanwhile, the opportunity for customized model portfolios sold by wealth advisors sits at a staggering $11 trillion.
So, as these traditional walls collapse, are you positioned to capitalize on these massive new market opportunities?
Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer and track the massive shift hitting capital markets. First up, we gotta ask, is the traditional stock market actually becoming obsolete? To understand why, let's first look at the insane complexities of our old financial system. Historically, managing risk meant relying on super complex instruments like swaps, options, and futures. Take a credit default swap, for instance. It's basically just selling insurance on a bond. But look at this map. It's a convoluted mess of multi-party risk. And this traditional hedging trap entirely relies on the other guy actually having the cash. So here's the paradigm shift: digital assets, tokenization, and running everything on blockchain rails. ETFs have actually become the ultimate bridge, connecting traditional portfolios directly to crypto opportunities. Old settlements take days, needing middlemen like depository participants. Tokenized assets, they're instant and programmatic. As Maggie Ho points out, tokenization finally unlocks historically illiquid private markets for everyday investors. Tokens give us real superpowers: instant mobility, immediate collateral, and easy fractional ownership. So what does this mean for the industry as we approach 2026? We're seeing 4 huge trends: integrated digital ecosystems, sustainability, highly agile structures, and AI. Experts literally predict entire traditional asset classes will soon be fully tradable directly on-chain. Which leaves us with one critical question: how is your portfolio positioned for this tokenized future?
Your remote team looks incredibly busy, right? But here's the wild part: they're actually doing absolutely nothing.
So, ask yourself honestly, is your team actually as productive as their little green dots imply?
We've got to completely shatter this illusion right now. Just because they're online doesn't mean they're actually working. Welcome to the 2026 workplace epidemic: ghost work. It's when employees pretend to work, but are completely checked out. It totally thrives on task masking. That's the art of looking crazy busy while delivering zero actual value.
And the data is absolutely staggering. 58% of employees regularly admit to faking their daily output.
Toss in another 34% doing it occasionally. Yeah, it turns out almost everybody is faking it. They're mastering productivity theater. You know, typing loudly, scheduling pointless meetings, or just endlessly shuffling their emails around. All of this creates a really painful gap between the optics you see and the actual reality.
You're seeing optical illusions of hard work,
The green Slack lights, rapid-fire chats, and those perfectly timed emails. It creates a massive blind spot. You literally praise an employee just because their status indicator is always green. But you're missing the painful reality. Despite all that digital noise, they delivered zero meaningful work all week.
The root cause? Well, if your culture rewards optics over outcomes, you're going to get optics, not outcomes.
So, the only fix here is a strict pivot. You must transition to an outcome-based performance model immediately. Stop measuring time spent online. Instead, you need to focus purely on delivered value and tangible outcomes.
To fix the culture, reduce that meeting bloat, cut the endless status reports, and ruthlessly protect focus time.
Look, task masking isn't just laziness. It actually signals a critical lack of clarity and psychological safety.
So, knowing all this, will you actively lead through these cultural changes or be led by them?
Let's jump right in. We need to talk about an uncomfortable truth regarding your company's leadership. Here's the harsh reality. Your top execs, they're probably completely out of touch with today's culture.
And honestly, your youngest employees already know it, but they actually hold the solution.
Enter reverse mentoring. By 2026, it's standard practice for digitally native younger staff to coach the C-suite.
Because age doesn't equal a monopoly on knowledge anymore. We have to rethink that top-down wisdom.
So, junior staff are now actively teaching leaders about AI adoption, digital trends, and shifting cultural norms.
Take Copilot culture. Younger employees just organically get this shift to human-AI teamwork way better than legacy execs.
This massive blind spot leads straight into what we call the expensive consultant trap.
Picture your CEO dropping thousands on external consultants just to understand Gen Z consumer behavior. It's completely absurd, right? You're literally burning thousands of dollars while totally ignoring your internal talent.
Meanwhile, a 23-year-old marketing assistant in your own office already has those exact insights but gets ignored.
We've got to stop relying solely on top-down wisdom. Instead, try this super simple, actionable shift. Grab one senior executive and pair them with a junior digital native today for a monthly reverse mentoring lunch.
It's a total game changer. So tell me, who is your C-suite having lunch with tomorrow?
Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we're diving straight into an incredible convergence that is happening all across the business and cultural landscape right now in 2026. If you've been tracking the rapid shifts in tech, corporate strategy, or honestly even just looking at what people are reading on the weekends, you've probably noticed a fascinating tension. We are living in an era entirely defined by data and artificial intelligence. And yet, as we're about to see, the ultimate differentiator has become something deeply, undeniably human. So let's kick things off with a bit of a mystery. What in the world could possibly connect the rigid math of corporate finance, the fast-paced strategy of PR, and the emotional twists of a blockbuster novel? On the surface, it sounds like the setup to a weird joke, right? They seem worlds apart. One lives in spreadsheets, another in brand reputation, and the last is pure entertainment. But if we look closely at the data coming out of 2026, there is a singular thread that ties them all together perfectly. Section 1. The Quantified World. Let's look at the 2026 business landscape. To figure out this connection, we really have to look at our current hyper-quantified reality. We've seen this massive shift away from standalone products and rigid, siloed teams. Instead, we've transitioned entirely to integrated digital ecosystems. According to recent insights from Financial Management magazine, succeeding today means you need platforms that connect your customers, suppliers, and partners in real time. We've moved away from traditional structures into fluid, hybrid teams that have to react instantly. It's a landscape that demands unprecedented agility and predictive foresight. Moving on to Section 2, the AI integration reality as a strategic enabler. AI is acting as the ultimate strategic engine in this new landscape. Just look at the hard numbers from Cision's landmark Inside PR 2026 report. The data is staggering. We are looking at a massive 91% adoption rate for generative AI among PR professionals. 91%. It's not some futuristic concept anymore. It is literally the baseline. If you aren't integrating AI into your daily workflow right now, you're sitting in that tiny 9% minority. But what's super fascinating is exactly how that technology is being used. 73% are using it to brainstorm and generate ideas, and 68% are leaning on it to actually write and refine content. Oh, and another 40% are using it to monitor our incredibly fragmented media landscape. Basically, Keck is doing the heavy lifting of drafting, sorting, and analyzing. In theory, this automation is supposed to free up all our human capital, making our teams faster and way smarter than before. Which brings us to Section 3, the human bottleneck, or what we can call the data subjectivity trap. Here is the catch, though. Pure data and automation have a massive blind spot, because numbers are completely fallible without human context. Imagine the very real frustration of a finance professional trying to find guidance on complex calculations. Take the weighted average cost of capital, or WACC, which is basically figuring out exactly what money costs a business. It is notoriously difficult. Tools out there like WACC Finder really highlight how professionals literally pull their hair out trying to balance highly subjective inputs like the cost of equity and debt. So the crucial point here is that even in a field as strict and mathematical as financial reporting, human judgment can totally throw a wrench in the gears. We're talking about common errors like relying too heavily on biased historical data, plugging in current loan interest rates instead of adjusting for actual business risk, or improperly applying a parent company's rate. You could have the most advanced AI on the planet, but if a human feeds it bad contextual assumptions, the final valuation is totally flawed. The machine does the math, sure, but a human has to understand the story behind the risk. Section 4. Bridging the agility gap and tackling legacy bottlenecks. Now, it's not just technical errors holding us back. Our own outdated organizational structures are creating a massive gap in how fast we can actually operate. Check out this jarring disconnect. Cision calls it the agility gap. You've got 33% of executives, so 1 in 3, sitting there thinking their organization is extremely agile. But you ask the frontline employees, only 14% actually agree. Leadership is pushing hard for AI-driven ROI, but the teams on the ground feel completely stuck in the mud. And why are they stuck? Well, despite all the shiny new tech, legacy issues are the real roadblocks. 63% cite team size and organizational design as major hurdles, and 53% point straight to slow approvals. It's honestly a bit of a paradox, right? We literally have AI that can generate content in seconds, but it still takes a human approval chain 3 weeks to sign off on it. We aren't constrained by the technology, we are constrained by the infrastructure. Section 5. The synthesis. Welcome to the era of the story analyst. So here is our ultimate 2026 paradox. As AI takes over the raw data processing and the initial drafting, what do you think is the most valuable sought-after skill left? It isn't technical. It's the ability to craft a narrative. Look at the numbers. PR's most desperately needed capability right now is deeply human storytelling, cited by 59% of professionals. And that's followed closely by strategic planning and interpreting data. The tools evolved, absolutely, but the core of the profession is still that uniquely human ability to interpret, contextualize, and communicate. And hey, this isn't just a communications thing. We are seeing the exact same evolution over in finance. According to Financial Management magazine, the modern finance pro is moving way beyond just being a number cruncher. Their role now is to provide, analyze, and communicate decision-relevant insights. They are strategic business partners. Just like in PR, the AI can crunch the spreadsheet, but a human has to step up and tell the story of what those numbers actually mean for the business's resilience. Now, let's step completely out of the boardroom for a second and look at the cultural zeitgeist. If you check out Goodreads' most popular books of 2026, it perfectly proves our point. Readers are absolutely devouring subversive thrillers like Freedom of Fadden's Dear Debbie, complex alternate realities like Yesteryear, and deeply messy, emotional memoirs like Belle Burden's Strangers. People are not looking for formulaic, machine-generated content. The human appetite for deep, subjective, emotionally resonant narrative is off the charts. We crave the exact things machines cannot genuinely experience: heartache, betrayal, triumphs, and complex connection. Which brings us to a really clear takeaway. The cold, calculating efficiency of the stopwatch. That's our AI and our data speed absolutely must be paired with the warm, subjective reality of a fresh cup of coffee, representing our human reflection, intuition, and creativity. You simply cannot have one without the other in 2026. The data needs the story, and the story desperately needs the data. So as you navigate this highly quantified, rapidly shifting landscape, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. In a world where the machines handle the math, the monitoring, and the rough drafts, how will you tell the story? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this sparked some fresh ideas for how you approach your own work. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're building your ultimate survival guide for the 2026 professional landscape. How do we balance crushing corporate pressure, wild new tech, and, actually stay sane? Here's our roadmap. We'll hit macro business trends, micro-level execution tools, and finally, how we unwind. Right now, AI adoption is completely flipping both the finance and public relations worlds upside down. Finance is shifting to agile digital teams, while PR desperately fights fragmented media and tight resources. Look at this data. PR teams are absolutely drowning in bottlenecks and begging for a lifeline. To close that agility gap, a whopping 91% of PR pros are now using AI. And corporate finance totally agrees. AI isn't just a futuristic toy anymore. It's mandatory for survival. Down in everyday execution, auditors are facing major burnout from super subjective fair value reporting because one tiny cost of capital error, like grabbing the wrong interest rate, can derail everything. Thankfully, expert blueprints like WhackFinder act as a total cheat code, saving hours and satisfying regulators. Okay, so how do these stressed out professionals actually decompress off the clock? Let's talk escapism. To fight that workplace burnout, 2026 reading lists are packed with dramatic, high-stakes fictional escapism. Forget business books. We're craving twisted, suspenseful thrillers and dark, juicy stories about domestic justice. Trading those stressful AI algorithms for thrilling tales of betrayal is literally a vital coping strategy. So, between surviving the AI revolution and finding your escape, what's your 2026 survival guide?
Welcome to This Explainer. Let's dive right into 2026, bridging boardroom AI and bedtime thrillers.
So how are professionals actually surviving this wild year? Let's look at the data.
Here's our agenda: finance trends, the massive PR evolution, and top books of the year.
All right, Sector 1. We're looking at the future of finance.
These four macro trends, especially AI and sustainability, demand serious agility from finance pros right now.
But corporate reality is tough. Subjective fair value reporting, like calculating WACC?
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. In fact, analysts regularly stumble into 7 major traps when determining these crucial capital inputs.
The big takeaway? Relying on historical loan rates or below-market parent discounts introduces severe bias.
Moving on to Sector 2, the PR agility gap. This tech shift is wild. A staggering 91% of PR pros now use generative AI.
But an agility gap remains. 63% face structural barriers, and slow approvals trap 53%.
Notice this stark disconnect. Executives demand ROI and revenue, while in-house teams still prioritize brand awareness.
Finally, Sector 3. Let's talk pop culture and escapism. Check out the top Goodreads titles. Professionals are totally escaping into these dark, suspenseful thrillers.
2 women, 1 dead husband, only 1 alibi. Gripping hooks like this completely capture our escapist obsession.
So, are you managing AI or escaping it? Thanks for joining This Explainer. Catch you next time.
Welcome to The Explainer. Let's unpack the core trends defining our professional and cultural landscape in 2026. This year is all about AI and fragmented media. Honestly, you either adapt instantly or you fall behind. Here's the agenda. We're covering finance, the future of PR, valuation traps, and finally, escapist reading. First up, finance. Right now, it's all about digital ecosystems, sustainability, agile structures, and AI. So, successful teams? They're totally ditching traditional rigid hierarchies for flatter, highly agile networks instead. Okay, let's pivot to public relations and see how a totally different sector faces those exact same pressures. Look at this. A staggering 91% of PR pros are already using generative AI workflows. Crazy, right? But even with AI, huge structural barriers and a fractured media landscape are still holding teams back. This actually creates a dangerous gap between executives wanting hard ROI and frontlines pushing for brand awareness. Yet, even with all this tech, deeply human skills, like creative storytelling, remain absolutely crucial. Are you making errors estimating your cost of capital? Let's untangle the messy world of financial reporting. If you've ever felt completely lost navigating these subjective calculations, trust me, you are definitely not alone. Here's a costly mistake: confusing basic loan interest with actual business risk. Always use third-party market rates. You really need unbiased third-party data to satisfy the regulators and keep your valuations completely defensible. So after all that rigid math, how do we actually unwind and escape the data? Let's look. To counteract our data-heavy lives, we're desperately turning to dramatic, emotional escapism. Think deep romance and thrillers. Take this hit thriller, for example. It perfectly channels our collective desire to just snap and take control. Or this one, which reveals our total fascination with surviving raw historical challenges without any digital safety nets. Side by side, it's clear, we strive for rigid professional agility, but we are absolutely desperate for human release. So, as you navigate these intense trends this year, I've got to ask, how are you maintaining your balance? Let's dive right into the 2026 zeitgeist. We're breaking down the massive shifts shaping our work and lives. What connects AI strategy, flawed valuations, and dark thrillers? It's a wild mix, but it defines this year. Welcome to the 2026 corporate landscape. Massive structural shifts are forcing companies to aggressively rethink their digital ecosystems. Look at finance and PR. They seem different, but rapid AI integration is totally disrupting both of them. Get this, a staggering 91% of PR pros are now actively using generative AI in their workflows. But tech isn't everything. 60% still say navigating a wildly fragmented media landscape is their absolute biggest hurdle. See this agility gap? Executives feel incredibly nimble, but heavy structural barriers are really bogging down everyday employees. Let's jump into financial reporting. Struggling with subjective WACC calculations? Trust me, you're definitely not alone. The silent pain is so real. Estimating the weighted average cost of capital using flawed data causes absolute headaches. Because here's the deal. WACC requires objective, third-party market data. You just can't rely on subjective, historical guesses. Avoid these traps. Using outdated data or mixing up credit and business risk will absolutely trigger regulator reviews. So, how do all these exhausted, spreadsheet-staring professionals actually manage to escape the daily corporate grind? They read. We're seeing a massive cultural appetite for dark, complex, psychological thrillers to completely unplug from reality. Sometimes, enough is enough. That line perfectly captures the vibe of these insanely popular, female-led revenge narratives. Books like Yesteryear prove we're exhausted. We're literally trading curated digital lives for rugged 1805 pioneer nightmares. It's crazy. We survive these data-driven, AI-obsessed workdays only to crave raw, emotional escapism by the evening. So, I gotta ask, how are you balancing the cold, hard data of 2026 with your own humanity?
Hey there, let's jump right into this explainer on the wild business and cultural trends of 2026.
So, how are AI, complex financial reporting, and dramatic psychological thrillers all connected right now? Let's find out.
Section 1. The 2026 corporate landscape. We're seeing intense macro pressures, totally reshaping the modern workplace.
Finance is pivoting hard to sustainability, while PR teams, they're battling to prove direct ROI.
In fact, 60% of PR pros say fragmented media and tight resources are massive daily hurdles. This creates a crazy alignment gap. Executives demand hard ROI, but frontline staff just prioritize brand awareness.
Next up, the AI integration reality. To bridge this stressful gap, companies are running toward AI.
Get this, a staggering 91% of PR pros have seamlessly baked generative AI into their workflows. They're leaning heavily on AI for brainstorming, writing content, and doing real-time media monitoring.
But you know what's wild? The top requested skill is still good old-fashioned human storytelling.
Moving on to navigating valuation and WACC. How do these high-stakes trends impact the finance folks?
It's a huge headache. Auditors are super frustrated by the highly subjective math behind WACC calculations.
People constantly confuse loan interest rates with actual business risk, or they rely on outdated historical biases.
Calculating fair value for reporting literally feels like being stuck in an impossible, chaotic, mathematical maze. Thankfully, tools like WACC Finder exist to completely streamline this chaos, finally giving professionals a well-deserved breather.
Section 4. Escaping with 2026 fiction. So, how are all these stressed professionals actually unwinding?
They're escaping boardroom drama by diving straight into high-stakes dramatic fiction on the page. Looking at the most popular Goodreads books, 2026 was literally a chronological journey of pure escapism. From subversive psychological thrillers to time travel, readers are absolutely craving intense alternate realities to decompress.
Let's wrap up with the year in review. Connecting these threads shows us what living today means. We're balancing intense industry pressure and rapid AI adoption with a massive need for fictional release.
Ultimately, thriving this year requires nonstop adaptation, strategic agility, and knowing exactly when to unplug.
So are you dynamically adapting to conquer these new pressures or just left reading about them?
Let's jump right into this explainer. I've got to ask a super uncomfortable question about your leadership style. Are you accidentally promoting the wrong people just because you bump into them by the coffee machine? As hybrid work keeps evolving in 2026, this coffee machine trap has seriously reached new heights. So what is this? It's proximity bias, our unconscious tendency to favor folks physically closer to us. Now, it's been around since the 70s, but hybrid work has totally amplified this dangerous bias. Managers are unconsciously favoring visible office workers over top-performing remote talent who just aren't in the building. Picture this: an average but highly visible junior analyst versus a vastly superior remote senior analyst. The trap? Giving a huge project to the junior kids simply because they're in your line of sight. You're accidentally managing by measuring badge swipes and physical FaceTime instead of actual value delivered. Crazy, right? The fix? Stop managing by physical presence. Audit your recent promotions and project assignments right now. You've got to ensure you're rewarding actual performance outcomes, not just who clocks the most office FaceTime. So, be honest. Does your leadership team actually reflect top talent? Or literally just the best office attendance?
All right, let's dive into why your loud social media marketing is suddenly totally failing.
You're spending thousands on ads, but Gen Z is actively rejecting and blocking your content. Why?
Because that polished, branded stuff, it doesn't hit anymore. The era of screaming marketers is officially dead.
Check this out. We're seeing a massive shift from loud hustle culture to cozy, calm, slow living.
Younger audiences are battling severe screen fatigue. They're aggressively rejecting that empty digital overload.
Instead of noise, they crave the cozy aesthetic. Think slow living, frugal optimism, and calming comfort.
And it's wildly profitable. Just look at the massive audiences for ambient niches like Lo-Fi Girl.
Picture this. You are absolutely exhausted after a super long, draining day at work.
You finally sit down, open up your feed, and you just want to relax.
But bam! The very first post is some marketer aggressively screaming at you to buy. So, what do? You instantly swipe away and block that account forever, right?
The fix here is connectineering, building genuine emotional trust through relatable community-first stories.
So rewrite your next script today. Drop the yelling, lower the volume, and speak like a friend. Focus on human-centered storytelling. Share those quiet, everyday rituals to build a safe micro-community.
Ditch the generic hooks. Use a calm, conversational tone to give your tired audience immediate value.
So, are you still shouting at a tired audience? Or are you building a genuine connection?
Okay, brutal truth time. Hackers are actively destroying corporate financial reports as we speak. Seriously, just one data breach can completely derail your entire financial close and expose highly sensitive data. It's devastating. We're talking millions in unexpected regulatory fines heading into 2026. That old mindset? Totally dead. Cyber is no longer just IT's problem. It's firmly on finance. Cyber risk is now a direct financial risk with massive implications for internal controls and investor confidence. You're now facing incredibly tight disclosure timelines and intense regulatory scrutiny over digital threats. So you've got to actively quantify those potential cyber impacts to make sure you're ready to report. Let's picture the ultimate nightmare. Imagine you're in the high-stress zone, finalizing quarter-end financials. Out of nowhere, bam! A ransomware attack locks down your entire ERP system mid-close. The fallout? You're completely paralyzed, absolutely unable to report those critical earnings to the board. And this is exactly why modern accountants absolutely must master cyber risk and data protection immediately. So, review your department's data access protocols today. Immediately revoke permissions for any inactive users. Be honest and ask yourself right now, who still has access to your ERP today?
All right, welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're joining me today, because honestly, we are looking at a massive structural earthquake happening in the accounting and finance profession right now. The rules of the game? They've completely changed for 2026. The whole accounting landscape is no longer just about crunching numbers or, endless manual data entry. It is entirely about leveraging technology to drive real strategic value. Now, if you've been paying even a little attention to the job market lately, you know there's a critical shift underway. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for your career, for your firm, and your future. We're going to go step by step so you walk away with a crystal clear understanding of how to actually survive and thrive in this new landscape. Okay, let's dive right in.
Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. Your entry-level accounting jobs, they are completely disappearing. Boom. It's an undeniable and frankly painful reality of the 2026 job market. The days of hiring a fresh graduate to just sit at a desk, manually extract data from invoices, plug numbers into spreadsheets, and write out repetitive variance commentary, those days are completely over. The traditional junior accountant role, the one that basically served as the foundational training ground for generations of CPAs, is being fundamentally wiped out by automation. And I know that sounds terrifying, especially if you're early in your career or maybe you manage a team that relies heavily on junior staff. But we have to face this reality right now because pretending it isn't happening is literally the fastest way to make yourself obsolete.
To put this into perspective, just think about the sheer scale of the disruption here. 80%. Let that sink in for a second. That is the reduction in manual variance analysis time that AI-powered financial analytics is delivering right now. A process that traditionally took a finance team 3 to 5 days of just mind-numbing data gathering and formatting is now shrinking to same-day reporting. In fact, research shows that FP&A professionals historically spent up to 60% of their entire week on routine data collection. With that time compressed so drastically, the manual jobs dedicated to that 60% simply do not need to exist anymore. This statistic cements the absolute urgency of why those entry-level jobs are vanishing. It's not some far-off future prediction, right? It's an active, ongoing compression of the time it takes to do the first draft of finance work.
All right, let's move to part 1 of our framework. Explain the rise of agentic AI.
Now, to really grasp this, we've got to be specific, because the AI of 2026 is vastly different from those simple chat tools we were all playing around with just a couple of years ago. We are now dealing with agentic AI. Basically, these are semi-autonomous systems that actively manage workflows, they extract data, and they investigate anomalies entirely without waiting for a human to prompt them. So the absolute game changer here is that AI isn't just a chatbot where you type a question and wait for an answer anymore. These are active, always-on systems. Think of them like digital coworkers. They monitor business metrics around the clock. If they spot a sudden spike in travel and expense costs, they autonomously query the database to find the root cause, and then they literally generate a narrative explaining it. They handle the entire workflow, the intake, classification, exception flagging, and spit out review-ready outputs. It completely flips financial reporting from a reactive, manual chore to a proactive, autonomous process.
So, the natural question is, if the AI is doing all the junior-level data wrangling, what on earth happens to the humans? Well, actually, humans aren't obsolete at all, but the profile of who firms are actually hiring has drastically shifted. Enter the digital senior. This is a finance professional who blends deep accounting expertise with technology fluency to oversee these automated workflows. Because all those routine tasks require way fewer human hours now, there is a massive, surging demand for this specific hybrid role. You're no longer getting paid to build a spreadsheet from scratch. You're being paid to govern the AI that built it, to review its outputs for accuracy, and to translate those insights into actual business strategy.
Let's break down exactly what this digital senior skill set looks like. First up, deep accounting expertise. You absolutely still need to know the fundamentals, debits, credits, IFRS standards, because frankly, you can't govern what you don't understand. Second, process awareness and oversight. You've got to know how data flows through a system, so you can catch it when an AI agent inevitably makes a logical error. Third, technology fluency and AI prompting. You must be completely comfortable managing these tools. And finally, strategic communication and advisory. You're taking the AI's first draft and using your human professional skepticism and emotional intelligence to advise the CFO or your client. Routine tasks are out, high-value judgment is in. This is exactly how you elevate your career from being just a number cruncher to a real strategic business partner.
Okay, let's jump to part 2. Illustrate the 1-hour reconciliation rivalry. Let's take this from abstract theory down to a high-stakes, real-world scenario. Just picture this stark contrast for a second. Imagine you run a finance team. You hire a traditional junior accountant. They spend literal days manually collecting data from different subledgers, formatting endless spreadsheets, and typing out repetitive variance commentary. Stuff like Revenue was favorable due to stronger bookings, over and over again. Meanwhile, your rival across town hires a digital senior. Their digital senior spends exactly 1 hour supervising an agentic AI workflow. The AI autonomously pulls all the data, spots the anomalies, and drafts the commentary. The digital senior spends their 1 hour reviewing the work, applying their business judgment, and producing finalized, actionable insights for the board. Your rival is closing their books in days, not weeks. They're providing real-time forecasting. They've just unlocked an overwhelming competitive advantage because they're operating at a speed and cost efficiency you literally cannot match with manual labor.
And when you look at the raw numbers, the disparity is just staggering. You have days of effort required for traditional reconciliation stacked right up against a single hour for an agentic AI workflow overseen by a digital senior. It really hits home just how blazing fast the new standard has become. Think about it. If it costs $10 to fix a data error right after it's entered and $100 to fix it after final reporting, then clean, rapid, AI-normalized data isn't just faster, it's vastly cheaper, and it removes a massive amount of risk. We're not talking about a slight process improvement here. It is a total paradigm shift in operational efficiency.
Which brings us to part 3. Teach, future-proof your career today.
Now, understanding the landscape is only half the battle, right? Adapting is the other half. So, here are the 3 steps you absolutely must take to future-proof your career starting right now. Number 1, audit your current manual tasks. Really look at your week. How much time are you wasting on data collection and formatting? Identify those bottlenecks. Number 2, and I literally cannot emphasize this one enough, enroll in a basic AI workflow automation course today. Not next month, not when you have free time, today. You have got to start blending your technical accounting expertise with digital oversight. You need to learn how to prompt, how to chain workflows together, and how to govern AI outputs. And number 3, shift your focus from data entry to strategic advisory. Start thinking about the why behind the numbers, not just the what. Anticipate what management is going to ask and use your new AI tools to prepare scenario models before the meetings even start.
And hey, if you need proof that these steps are an absolute non-negotiable necessity, it's truly incredible to look at what the global standard setters are doing. The ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, they have completely redesigned their qualification for 2026 and 2027. Look at what are now core exam requirements: AI and automation, data analytics, including this brand new SDS Data Science Professional elective, cloud tools, and cyber risk. These technology topics are no longer just cute, nice-to-have side modules. They are at the absolute center of the syllabus. The governing bodies of our profession are telling us loud and clear: if you don't possess these digital and data skills, you're simply not qualified to practice in the modern era. But listen, I don't want you leaving this explainer feeling doomed. Far from it. I want to leave you with a sense of immense optimism, because as the saying goes, AI is a co-pilot, not an autopilot. Humans must still govern assumptions, apply business judgment, and own decisions. This right here is the core truth of the digital senior. Your human accounting expertise is still the absolute foundation of your value. AI doesn't make decisions, it doesn't sign audit opinions, it doesn't possess ethical accountability or professional skepticism. You do. The goal isn't to just let the machine take over, the goal is to elevate your role so you can focus entirely on that high-level judgment that machines simply cannot replicate.
So it really all comes down to this one powerful, provocative question. Are you going to be replaced by AI or promoted by it? Because ultimately the choice is entirely in your hands. Those who just cling to manual data entry and traditional junior roles, yeah, they're going to find themselves replaced by autonomous agents. But those who embrace this new reality, the ones who audit their tasks, learn AI workflow automation, and boldly step into the role of the digital senior, they're going to be promoted. They will become the indispensable strategic advisors of the future. The landscape has completely shifted. Take action today, enroll in that course, and go claim your place in the 2026 finance workforce. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.
Let's look at the ultimate secret for defending your hard-earned business profits: the economic moat. Making millions, competitors will steal it tomorrow. Porter's 5 Forces practically guarantees it. You need an economic moat. Without a competitive advantage, rivals will clone your product and crush your margins. Warren Buffett actually compares your business to a castle. It absolutely needs a deep, protective moat. Financially, it just means you're consistently making way more cash than it costs to run things. Morningstar lays out 5 proven ways to build this massive defense around your company. You can leverage massive intangible assets, like brand loyalty, or build unbeatable cost advantages. But here's the catch. You got to build high switching costs so clients can literally never leave. Or create a wild network effect. Think American Express. The value explodes as more users join. This isn't just a theory, guys. Heavyweights like JP Morgan actively hunt for these durable platforms. Today, compounding data advantages and defensible distribution are literally the ultimate digital moats. What's protecting your castle? Figure it out. And hey, download my finance notes to pass.
Okay, let's dive into this explainer on the absolute biggest fintech shift we're seeing this year.
Software companies are quietly turning into massive banks, literally right under our noses.
Embedded finance is no longer just some boring back-office function. It's now a massive strategic growth lever.
In fact, a staggering 91% of SaaS companies expect to use embedded payments for growth by 2026.
In this global market, it'll explode from $115.8 billion to over $251 billion by 2029.
So to really understand this impact, let's just look at a super seamless consumer experience. You finish a workout app class and boom, one-click buy protein powder without ever leaving the screen.
Behind the scenes, vertical SaaS platforms use this totally friction-free experience to completely transform their unit economics.
Upgrading to an Interchange Plus model fundamentally transforms your platform's profit margins and gives you total customer control.
This fresh payment revenue literally subsidizes your core subscription, heavily reducing churn and skyrocketing customer lifetime value.
So here's your action plan. Stop sending your precious customers to third-party payment gateways right now. Review your checkout flow today and research one embedded finance API to keep transactions completely inside your platform.
I'll leave you with this. Are you designing the future of your platform's finance or just reacting?
Is your stock portfolio trapping your cash? Welcome to our explainer on the crazy evolution of capital. Seriously, stop liquidating your best assets. Back in 2019, Hertz faced a massive dilemma, funding operations without selling out. Should they just issue more stock? Well, companies gotta weigh their options carefully so they don't dilute ownership. See, equity is super expensive and dilutes control. Debt, it's way cheaper and actually offers a sweet tax shield. It's a classic trade-off. Debt demands mandatory interest payments, but equity means giving up your crucial voting power. The absolute key to balancing these costs? That's WACC, or the weighted average cost of capital. To truly grasp a business's total risk, we rely on ACCA. But guys, it's notoriously easy to mess up. WAC perfectly blends the market values of debt, equity, and tax rates. But watch out for these massive traps. First off, never use historical book values. You absolutely must use current market value for an accurate WACC. Also, loan rates only reflect credit risk. WAC demands a much higher rate reflecting your total business risk. And a parent company's cheap loan, not fair value. You gotta find the true arm's-length market rate. Honestly, just following these exact steps to find those rates and blend costs ensures a literally bulletproof corporate valuation. But hey, the rules are shifting fast. By 2026, AI and digital ecosystems will demand smarter asset management. Enter blockchain. Tokenization means pledging actually uses your existing shares as collateral, making your current capital work way harder. Don't sell prime stock for emergencies and pay massive taxes. Tokenized collateral can literally mobilize in seconds. Smart investors get that exact cash while keeping their portfolios completely intact, instantly rebalancing without those clunky wire transfers. So, will tokenization completely redefine ownership? Download my finance notes to pass and stay curious about capital's future. Let's dive right in. The traditional banking monopoly? Yeah, it's literally crumbling right before our eyes today. Is it really over? Absolutely. Those legacy institutions are rapidly losing their iron grip on global finance. Think about it. Sluggish, expensive legacy systems are getting totally eclipsed by lightning-fast, programmable fintech apps. The big catalyst here is the Genius Act. This lets non-depository crypto firms directly access central bank accounts. And hey, Wall Street is noticing. A whopping 60% of institutional investors are actively upping their digital assets. We're talking trillions of dollars aggressively shifting toward tokenization just to meet these massive institutional targets. These advanced, decentralized rails have finally matured. They're literally plugging right into our oldest financial institutions now. Let's make this real. Imagine you need to wire some funds internationally right now. You use a regular bank and boom, you're hit with massive fees and a painful 3-day delay. Meanwhile, your agile tech competitor, they are completely bypassing those exact same legacy bottlenecks. Instead, they settle that exact same transaction instantly just by using a highly efficient, regulated stablecoin. 0 days waiting, a fraction of a cent in fees, 24/7. Guys, this is the new standard. BlackRock hit the nail on the head. TradFi and crypto aren't just competing, they're converging in the middle. We have to stop ignoring this. Real product innovation is flowing across this vital bridge between both worlds. Why does this matter? Instant liquidity, zero counterparty risk, programmable money, and truly borderless commerce. So here's your homework. Research just one regulated stablecoin platform today. See this instant settlement magic yourself. The choice is yours. Are you going to cross the bridge or stay waiting on a legacy wire?
Welcome to This Explainer. Right now, in 2026, we're in the middle of a massive cultural and professional shift. You know, audiences, consumers, and even big corporate boards are actively boycotting mass-produced AI-generated content. People are really pushing back against what we could call synthetic sameness. Because of this, having a human-made label on your work, that's become a true badge of honor. And honestly, more than that, it's becoming a massive driver of price premiums across almost every single industry.
Think about it like this. Today, you could absolutely use generative AI to mass-produce thousands of highly polished, grammatically perfect advertisements or reports literally in a matter of seconds. But here's the reality we're actually seeing on the ground. Those campaigns, they often get zero engagement. None. The real winners, the ones commanding high trust and premium pricing, are the thoughtfully human-crafted campaigns. To succeed today, we absolutely have to stop mass-producing synthetic content and pivot our entire focus toward authentic, emotional, human storytelling.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap to see how it all connects. We're going to start with the 2026 industry landscape, then look at the human element of valuation. After that, we'll explore how PR demands measurable storytelling, see exactly why culture craves messy drama, and finally, wrap it up by finding the data and emotion balance. Starting off with Section 1, the 2026 industry landscape. Let's set the stage by zooming out to the broad corporate finance landscape where tech is just rapidly rewriting the rules of business. A recent piece in Financial Management magazine by Andrew Harding perfectly outlines 4 major trends shaping the year. First, digital ecosystems are replacing standalone products, connecting supply chains in real time. Second, sustainability is definitely no longer a niche idea. It's a core business strategy. Third, workplace structures are becoming highly agile and hybrid. And finally, AI is acting as a massive strategic enabler. But here's the catch. While AI crunches the numbers and drives efficiency, it's the human finance professional who actually has to step in and provide the strategic, decision-relevant insight that makes a business resilient.
That brings us right into Section 2, the human element of valuation. We've seen the macro trends, so let's pivot to a highly specific, micro-level financial pain point to show how this actually plays out.
We all know that feeling of sheer professional anxiety, right? Because despite all our advanced tech, the most critical business decisions are still incredibly messy and subjective. A perfect example of this is calculating the weighted average cost of capital, or WACC, for fair value reporting. This is a deeply subjective, stress-inducing human process. Professionals are constantly sweating over questions from auditors like, how exactly did you arrive at a 3% WACC for this risky business? An algorithm just can't spit out an answer that a regulator will blindly accept.
This quote from Seong Young, the founder of WACC Finder, perfectly grounds this super dry financial topic in a very relatable human experience. He talks about being frustrated for over a decade, endlessly trying to help auditors navigate this subjective maze. It was through years of human trial, error, and those real aha moments that he finally created a blueprint to help others navigate regulatory reviews. It wasn't built by a prompt, you know? It was built by genuine human struggle and experience.
Now, what's really interesting here is seeing exactly where automated or obvious answers completely fail. You might think, oh, I'll just use my bank loan interest rate for my cost of capital. But human judgment is absolutely essential to understand that a bank loan only reflects credit risk, whereas a true WACC has to reflect a much higher business risk. Or say you look at a parent company's artificially low lending rate. Well, fair value requires knowing what an unrelated third party would demand. These are nuanced, context-heavy distinctions. They require a human brain to justify.
Let's switch gears to Section 3, PR demands measurable storytelling.
Zooming back out to the public relations industry, the data here perfectly mirrors the paradox of automation versus human connection we just saw in finance.
Check out this staggering data from Cision's Inside PR 2026 report. Right now, 91% of PR teams are actively using generative AI in their daily workflows. 91%? They're using it heavily to combat resource pressure and the rapid fragmentation of media. Specifically, 73% rely on it for idea generation and 68% use it for writing and content refinement. AI is literally everywhere in PR.
So, the crucial point is this massive paradox staring us right in the face. Despite 91% AI adoption across the industry, the absolute #1 most demanded skill for PR professionals in 2026 is human storytelling, sitting at 59%. Why? Well, because while AI can easily aggregate data and draft a generic press release, interpreting that data to build a compelling narrative that actually moves people, that requires a uniquely human touch. Crafting the story is exactly where the premium lies.
Plus, AI can't fix human misalignment. Notice the significant gap that's holding PR teams back from true agility. Senior executives are pushing incredibly hard for measurable commercial outcomes, prioritizing ROI and revenue at 32%. Meanwhile, frontline employees remain firmly anchored in traditional brand awareness at around 40%. Navigating this kind of structural friction requires strategic human collaboration. You can't just buy better software to fix that.
Moving to Section 4, Culture Craves Messy Human Drama. We need to see exactly what everyday people, who are completely exhausted by robotic sameness at work, are desperately consuming in their free time.
If you look at Goodreads' most popular books published in 2026, it's honestly a masterclass in human psychology. We've got Frida McFadden's Dear Debbie, which is a subversive thriller about a wife seeking payback. There's Carol Claire Burke's Yesteryear, where a raw milk influencer living an illusion of perfection suddenly wakes up in the brutal reality of 1805. Then we see Jeanette McCurdy's Half His Age, exploring the raw loneliness of a 17-year-old, and Belle Burton's memoir, Strangers, detailing the sudden betrayal of a 20-year marriage.
And this brilliantly illustrates what society is actually craving right now. Betrayal, revenge, the shattering of perfect illusions, raw longing, messy relationships, and highly subjective truths. Audiences are absolutely obsessed with these chaotic, deeply flawed human themes for one very simple reason. They are the exact opposite of polished, predictable, AI-generated content. We're seeking out the messiness of the human condition because that's what feels real to us.
Finally, Section 5, the data and emotion balance. How do we synthesize all of this? Let's bring these seemingly totally disparate sources, finance, PR, and pop culture, together to deliver our final takeaway. Let's see how this all builds into an actionable 2026 playbook for you. Step 1. Absolutely use technology and digital ecosystems to handle your infrastructure and automate your workflows. Step 2. Measure your data rigorously to ensure you're hitting the ROI that executives demand. But Step 3 is where you win. You must set your brand, your reports, and your products apart with authentic, uniquely human storytelling. Rely on your subjective human judgment to create that emotional connection. That is what commands a premium in 2026. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. In an ocean of robotic sameness, how are you balancing AI automation with your own unique human judgment to stand out? Technology is your foundation, for sure, but your humanity is your premium. Take a hard look at your daily workflow and ask yourself where you can inject more of that messy, brilliant human insight today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.
So let's dive into this explainer and uncover why your current marketing is totally flopping. Look me in the eye, your digital strategy is just completely failing right now. Why? Well, 2/3 of the internet is literally just bots. We humans are wildly outnumbered. This is sparking a massive 2026 trend called abstinence. People are actively detoxing and ditching the scroll. We all have massive screen fatigue, right? Consumers are just entirely sick of algorithmic manipulation. So brands literally can't just yell at people anymore. You have to build real, interactive worlds. Adobe actually calls this connectioneering. It's about making offline stuff that builds common ground fast. Think about your hyper-polished, super expensive social media ads compared to an unpolished local meetup. You're blowing your whole budget on perfect digital ads that, honestly, nobody is even clicking. Meanwhile, a rival brand hosts a gritty local hangout and gets massive loyalty and word-of-mouth sales. You see, those unpolished human glitches, like stutters, create a really authentic, tactile grounding. These visible imperfections act as a proof of life that exhausted consumers are absolutely starving for. Forget that hollow global vision, okay? It's time to heavily lean into local specificity instead. Which brings us to the core of this explainer, the big IRL marketing mandate. To survive, you must connect your digital content straight to real-world, offline human experiences. Here's your assignment. Stop scrolling right now. Pick a local venue and invite your community out. So I challenge you. What small, in-person event are you going to realistically host today? Get to it.
Hey, welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right into job hugging and why you might be secretly trapped.
You log on, act totally fine, but deep down, you're terrified of this volatile 2026 job market.
See, high retention doesn't actually mean high satisfaction anymore. Honestly, it just means people are scared.
HR experts literally call this job hugging. You're clinging to a secure, comfy role you actually hate.
This turns into resenteeism. You're there physically for the paycheck, but mentally, you have completely checked out. And the data totally backs this up. Voluntary quit rates just hit their absolute lowest point since 2016. A massive 54% of us are experiencing quiet cracking, just silent disengagement and persistent quiet unhappiness. On the outside, your Slack light is green, but inside, you're totally burnt out and terrified.
So you start task masking. Basically, productivity theater, like typing super loud or scheduling completely useless meetings.
So what's actually driving all this panic? Well, it's a perfect storm of career paralysis.
It's a toxic mix: harsh return to office mandates, economic uncertainty, and an AI job apocalypse displacing 27 million jobs.
But here's the kicker. Staying put just because you're scared will completely wreck your long-term career growth.
You've got to start career cushioning right now. Reclaim your leverage before the market shifts on you again.
Here's how. Update your resume with skills, start quietly networking, and seriously upskill for that AI fluency.
The World Economic Forum says adapting fast keeps you competitive. You need to apply that exact logic.
So, are you going to keep hugging a job you hate, or build leverage and finally break free?
Welcome to this explainer. Seriously, stop making boring corporate videos right now. Let's dive into the microdrama revolution. Today, B2B marketing is competing directly with episodic TikTok entertainment for your buyer's attention. Crazy, right? Why? Because buyers don't just magically transform into emotionless robots the second they clock in at 9 a.m. So why keep pushing dry white papers literally nobody reads when you can absolutely hijack their attention instead? Enter the microdrama. These short-form, serialized social videos are capturing massive audiences and going completely mainstream. And this isn't some passing fad. It's actually a staggering $11 billion global entertainment industry driven by mobile-first consumers. The data totally backs this up. Microdramas crush traditional webinars and dry white papers when it comes to actual engagement. You know, we don't really have shorter attention spans. We just have way higher standards for what we watch. Think about it. You'll skip a polished ad in 2 seconds, but happily binge a 10-minute serialized office skit. The secret sauce? It's the cliffhanger loop. Ending mid-crisis creates this cognitive itch you just have to scratch. Picture a stressed office worker desperately using your new software just to save their job. That's a real hook. Instead of boring feature lists, we're showing emotional transformation arcs. Suddenly, binge watching becomes your actual product education. So how do we actually do this? Well, we strictly follow the HEIT framework. Hook, explain, illustrate, and teach. First, drop the corporate jargon. Draft a 3-part narrative script about your customer's biggest daily frustration today. Cast relatable characters, not polished personas. We're talking harried middle managers or skeptical CFOs facing realistic daily struggles. Map out that 3-part journey. Your product has to enter as a natural turning point, absolutely never a pitch. Remember this golden rule. Your product's key feature isn't just a bullet point, it's literally a plot device. So as we wrap up this explainer, ask yourself, what compelling story does your product actually enable? So what do corporate finance, PR, and thriller novels have in common right now in 2026? Let's dive in. Welcome! Today, we're unpacking the mirror effect, how we're all navigating and escaping the 2026 zeitgeist. Look, today's professional landscape, it is intensely demanding. We live in a relentless, high-pressure, data-driven world. Okay, let's look at this. A massive 91% of PR pros now rely heavily on generative AI. Over in finance, things are shifting fast. Agility and AI integration, they're literally survival mandates right now. Bottom line, whether you're pitching campaigns or crunching numbers, adapting to AI and staying agile is non-negotiable. And man, you can really feel the frustration. Professionals are absolutely exhausted chasing perfectly accurate measurable data. Finance leaders are literally agonizing over calculating the perfect, subjective, weighted average cost of capital to appease regulators. Plus, there's a huge disconnect. Execs demand hard ROI, while in-house teams are just pushing for awareness. So your daytime reality, it's just this relentless, exhausting pressure to prove your worth with hard, flawless data. But here's the wild part. What happens when these same stressed-out professionals finally log off for the night? We know coffee fuels the daily data grind, sure, but what's fueling our evenings is a totally different story. Look at these Goodreads trends. We're obsessed with dark, chaotic themes like psychological betrayal, alternate realities, and vengeance. In huge hits like Dear Debbie and Yesteryear, readers are devouring stories of people violently escaping suffocating routines. And boom, there's the aha moment. Our chaotic, thrilling evening fiction perfectly mirrors our rigid, data-obsessed day jobs. It's the 2026 mirror effect. We absolutely demand order in business, but we intensely crave chaos in our downtime. The clock is ticking. That intense pressure to integrate AI and prove hard ROI, it definitely isn't slowing down. So tell me, how are you balancing this relentless demand for hard ROI with your own need to escape? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into 2026's absolute most profitable brand strategy, the nostalgic remix. Look, you're literally wasting millions inventing new stuff when you should just be remixing the old ones. Seriously, why risk a totally futuristic flop when your own archives hold literally guaranteed hits? By 2026, we're all just exhausted by AI and chaos. Consumers actively crave that safety of the past. So nostalgia isn't just a fleeting feeling anymore, right? It's morphed into this massive economic engine. Get this, nostalgic campaigns boost brand likability by up to 20%. That is a massive advantage. Picture this scenario. You launch this crazy expensive, futuristic product, and it just completely flops. Meanwhile, your competitor just dusts off some beloved 90s logo, remixes it, and boom, instantly sells out. Take Nintendo. They didn't just push new hardware. They literally brought back Paul Rudd from 1991. They aren't just selling tech here. They're selling a feeling, bridging a 34-year emotional gap perfectly. Airbnb tapped the Backstreet Boys. Louis Vuitton revived a 20-year-old collab. This playbook absolutely works everywhere. So what is this exactly? Well, it's not some lazy re-release. It's a strategic, contemporary remix. Okay, let's talk execution. Here is the exact 3-step playbook your brand can follow today. Step 1, audit those archives. Go hunt down a retired logo, a classic jingle, or dead product. Then, you remix it. Make that past feel totally fresh, but still comfortingly familiar for today's crowd. So I'll leave you with this. What totally forgotten piece of your legacy is your next bestseller? Let's jump right into this explainer. Artificial intelligence is literally flooding the internet right now. We're drowning in pink slime, automated content farms pumping out robotic slop disguised as real news. So, with billions of fake AI posts out there, how do we actually tell what's real? Shockingly, globally, less than 1% of published news images or videos include metadata proving their origin. Get this. In France alone, over 4,000 fake AI-powered news sites are gaming the system. Think about your daily life. You search for a product review and click the very first result. And boom, you get 5 paragraphs of generic, repetitive, soulless text. Zero real human opinion. We have massive perfection fatigue. When everything is hyper-polished, it just feels completely sterile and untrustworthy. In fact, 52% of social media users actively distrust brands posting undisclosed AI content. So what's the fix? Well, first, stop using AI for your final copy. Second, research C2PA. You've got to use a human-in-the-loop approach. AI does the research, sure, but humans control the final edit. Embrace the human glitch. Those raw moments, those natural stutters, they literally prove you're real. Next, dive into the C2PA standard. It lets you embed verification metadata to prove your brand's authenticity. It's simple. Create human-led content, embed that C2PA metadata, and publish with absolute, undeniable proof. Because right now, being transparent isn't some crazy PR risk. It is your ultimate proof of work. So I'll leave you with this. Is your brand verifiably real or just more pink slime?
Right now, your PR team and your exec board, they're fighting two totally different wars. PR is relentlessly chasing brand awareness, while executives just want hard, measurable commercial outcomes like ROI.
Okay, let's dive into this. The 2026 Cision Insight PR report actually proves this massive corporate friction. It shows that roughly 40% of in-house PR teams are still entirely anchored to just brand awareness. Now, what's really interesting here is 32% of executives strictly demand measurable ROI, not just attention. Picture this. Your PR team is literally popping champagne over a massive viral hit. Huge engagement, right?
But your CFO is furious. Why? Because that massive attention spike generated absolutely zero qualified leads or sales.
Enter WIFT. What's in it for them? You've got to frame everything around the CFO's obsession with capital allocation.
So the crucial point is, how do we bridge this gap and actually speak the C-suite's language? Tie your next PR campaign directly to a commercial business outcome today, like website conversions.
Let's move on and see how this builds. Start tracking real business signals, like demos and qualified leads.
And this brilliantly illustrates the shift. We're ditching lazy vanity metrics for hard, undeniable business signals. Because look, without measurable commercial impact, even the most viral PR campaign is honestly just noise.
So, are you ready to tie PR to real revenue, or just going to pop more empty champagne?
Welcome to The Explainer. Traditional banks, they are totally losing their grip on corporate lending right now.
We're seeing a massive structural shift. Capital is actively ditching commercial banks for much faster execution.
So the million-dollar question for every business leader is, where's all that money actually going?
Well, it starts with the 2026 regulatory outlook and those new Basel III endgame rules.
As capital standards tighten up, traditional corporate lending is becoming severely constrained.
So, funding is rushing into private credit, completely reshaping a massive $41 trillion market. To put that into perspective, private funds will soon replace up to 15% of traditional lending. Crazy enough, today, only 14% of all U.S. credit actually comes from traditional banks anyway. It's gotten so huge that banks are literally paying private funds to take on their loan risks.
Okay, so let's look at what this actually means for your real-world corporate expansion.
Imagine spending an agonizing 6 months jumping through bureaucratic hoops just to score a traditional bank loan. Meanwhile, your agile competitor secures flexible financing from a private credit fund in just 3 weeks. That massive speed advantage is exactly why private credit is absolutely seizing the global lending market. Major institutions see this disruption accelerating fast, as capital naturally flows toward quicker execution and efficiency. So what does this massive shift mean for your own business strategy moving forward? First off, you've got to stop relying exclusively on traditional commercial banks for your corporate growth. Take action today. Go research just one private credit fund in your industry to understand your options. See firsthand how alternative lending's unmatched flexibility and speed can dramatically accelerate your own growth.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question for your future growth strategy.
Are you moving at the slow speed of banks or the rapid speed of the market?
Hey there, welcome to this explainer on the profit illusion, the ultimate trap destroying thriving companies. Let's dive into a wild paradox. How can a highly profitable company suddenly go totally bankrupt? Well, profit is honestly just a timed accounting concept. Cash flow, though, that's the actual reality.
Think about it. Make a massive credit sale. Your profit spikes instantly. Actual cash received? Zero.
This massive disconnect sets the perfect trap. We call it absorption costing. Under this method, every single fixed production overhead cost gets fully absorbed into your inventory's valuation.
So here's the kicker.
Producing way more units than you actually sell artificially inflates your profit.
That's because massive fixed overheads are totally hidden inside the valuation of unsold warehouse stock.
Imagine an owner staring at an income statement showing a massive $5 million in net income.
But then Friday hits and payroll bounces. No way, right? Actually, the company is completely insolvent.
Despite being wildly profitable on paper, every single dollar was literally trapped in unsold warehouse inventory. It's a classic case of overtrading. Rapid growth with zero working capital leads to sudden collapse.
So if you want to survive exams and the real world, never ever confuse profit with cash flow. I highly recommend pulling up an IAS 7 cash flow statement today to trace this divergence.
Using the indirect method, you'll start with profit before tax and adjust for non-cash items.
You gotta subtract increases in working capital, like that huge inventory stockpile quietly draining your bank.
This specific math shows exactly where your operating profit diverged from actual spendable cash.
So ask yourself, is your company's wealth real or just an illusion sitting on a warehouse shelf?
The revenue trap, unit economics. Let's uncover why high sales don't always equal success.
Celebrating record-breaking revenue right now? Yeah, you might want to hold off on that confetti.
Because honestly, your business is probably bleeding money right under your nose.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is you spend millions but acquire worthless users. Short-term profits are just a total illusion. But guys, here is the dangerous catch.
So, the crucial point is, you absolutely must calculate your unit economics first to survive.
Don't just blindly scale your losses. Download my finance notes right now to pass your exams.
Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, if your major brand announcements seem like they are just vanishing into the void lately, trust me, you're not alone. Today, we're unpacking a ridiculously simple shift in timing that is going to completely revolutionize your earned media strategy.
Right off the bat, we've got to ask a tough question. Is your Monday PR push actually burning your budget? Think about it. For decades, the absolute gold standard in public relations has been the Monday morning press release. You draft the thing on Friday, review it over the weekend, and blast it out at 8 a.m. on Monday, right? You assume you're catching journalists fresh at the start of their week. But I'm here to challenge that entire status quo. In today's hyper-accelerated, AI-driven media environment, that traditional Monday morning push isn't just outdated, it's actively destroying your return on investment.
Let that sink in for a second. 3%. According to the absolute latest industry data tracking PR metrics in 2026, journalists are responding to a dismal 3% of the pitches they receive. I mean, think about what that means for your budget and your team's morale. Out of 100 carefully crafted, highly approved pitches, 97 of them are just met with absolute silence. Ouch! That is literally maximum agitation for any communications team. The massive effort you're putting in simply is not correlating with the coverage you're getting out.
And a massive reason for that 3% response rate is what we call the Monday trap. When you send your announcement on a Monday morning, you are walking your brand straight into a battlefield. You're competing with the weekend backlog, breaking crisis news, and just a massive flood of AI-generated noise from literally every other startup doing the exact same thing. In fact, 71% of PR agencies cite severe media fragmentation as a major hurdle right now. So when you blast your news on a Monday, that fragmented media and their flooded inboxes just act as the ultimate villain. Your brilliant announcement, it just gets totally buried.
Okay, let's dive right into how we fix this. Here is the Thursday PR secret.
So if 97% of pitches are failing, we need a data-backed solution to make sure we fall into that successful 3%. And actually, the answer isn't writing a better headline or dropping thousands more on distribution platforms. The secret is entirely about timing. Now, what's really interesting about this Prowley data is the sheer contrast. Monday and Wednesday are really struggling, but look at Thursday. It is towering over the rest of the week at a massive 26% open rate. That is a staggering advantage just for sitting on your hands for a few days. By simply holding your press release until Thursday, you drastically increase the statistical probability that a journalist will actually open and read your news.
So why exactly does Thursday win out? Well, the underlying logic of our 2026 media landscape actually explains this perfectly. First off, as we just talked about, you completely bypass that Monday inbox flood. By Thursday, journalists have cleared their backlogs, they've managed the early week crisis news, and they can breathe. Second, it perfectly aligns with their workflow. By Thursday afternoon, reporters are actively looking for solid, well-packaged feature stories to run over the weekend or to prep for next week's calendar. And finally, your timing cuts right through that automated AI-generated noise that always peaks early in the week. Waiting literally gives you the quiet room you need to be heard.
And this brilliantly illustrates the point. Let's look at a tale of two pitches. Imagine two competing brands. They're both launching highly similar, innovative products in the exact same week. Same news, same target audience, exact same PR budget. On the left, brand A does what we call the Monday flop. They stick to the old playbook, distribute a massive announcement on Monday morning, and yep, it immediately gets buried under a mountain of weekend catch-up emails. Zero coverage. Now look at the right. Brand B executes the Thursday feature. They deliberately wait until Thursday afternoon. The inbox is quieter, the journalist is hungry for a compelling end-of-week story, and boom, Brand B lands front-page industry news. The only difference? The day they hit send. Now you might be wondering, with all the social platforms, direct messages, and new digital channels out there in 2026, does the day of the week for an email really matter that much? Yes, it absolutely does. Because a staggering 93% of journalists still prefer to receive pitches via email. Despite all the wild tech advancements we have, the inbox is still the ultimate battlefield where earned media is won or lost. Mastering the timing of that email, that is your greatest weapon.
All right, so what do we do about it? Let's talk about how to reschedule your next lunch.
We've seen the trap, we've explored the data, and we know what winning looks like. Now it's time to take concrete action. Let's walk through the exact formula you need to implement right away. So the crucial point is following this exact three-step workflow. Step 1. Explicitly target a Thursday morning send for your next major release. Block it out on the calendar and hold the line against any executives who try to push it out earlier. Step 2. Keep the pitch incredibly concise. And Step 3. Fiercely personalize the outreach. Because while Thursday timing gets the door open, conciseness and personalization are what actually get you invited inside.
Let's actually drill down into Step 2 for a second. Take a look at this quote straight from the source data. Journalists prefer email pitches of 200 words or fewer. This is absolutely critical. Remember, you finally grab their attention on a Thursday. Please don't blow it by sending them a novel. They'll literally delete it on sight. Your pitch needs to be punchy, direct, and immediately highlight why this matters to their specific readers. Get in, make your point, and then offer the full press release or an interview for the nitty-gritty details.
Now, timing and brevity are the mechanics, but personalization is the soul of your pitch. Check out that massive 77% slice right there. That represents relevancy and personalization as the absolute most important factors in pitch success. We live in a world where 76% of PR teams are currently using generative AI to write content. That means generic blasts are so easily spotted and they are instantly ignored. The Thursday advantage has to be paired with genuine human-to-human connection. You've got to show the journalist you actually know what they write about and exactly why your Thursday news fits perfectly into their beat.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but it really all comes down to the choice sitting right in front of you. Your next release is drafted, it's approved, it's sitting in your outbox. The old habit is pulling you toward Monday morning. But now you know the data. You know about that 3% response rate, the Monday trap, and you know about the massive 26% open rate waiting for you later in the week. So, are you going to burn your budget by hitting send on Monday? Or will you wait for the Thursday advantage and finally get the coverage your brand actually deserves? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.
You're literally losing your audience in the exact first 3 seconds of your videos.
Just 3 seconds. That's all you have before a viewer instantly swipes away.
So why the drop-off? In this explainer, we'll uncover exactly why your retention tanks.
High-retention content uses the triple hook method to stop that scroll right in its tracks.
Every viral video has visual, written, and verbal hooks working together at the exact same time.
Here's the thing. Your brain processes visual info way faster than the words you hear.
If your visuals, text, and voice don't instantly match up, it creates massive cognitive friction.
Because of that friction, your audience totally checks out before your message even lands.
Picture this. You say 3 finance tips while just sitting there in a super boring room.
With zero text on screen and absolutely no visual stimulus, the viewer's brain just totally disconnects.
And boom, they instantly swipe away to find something way more engaging to watch.
Okay, let's fix this. Here's exactly how you build a killer high-retention opening.
You've got to align all 3 elements immediately to create instant clarity for your viewer. First up, add a bold text title that makes a big promise and teases intense curiosity.
Next, hit him with a physical pattern interrupt, like a sudden movement or a cool prop. You need to execute both of these in the exact first second of your next video.
Align these perfectly to capture instant curiosity. So, what's going to be your next triple hook? Ready for this explainer? Let's uncover the silent valuation destroyer hiding right inside your discount rate. One simple whack omission can literally make a profitable project fail, or worse, cost you crucial exam marks. The ACCA examiner actually warns that these exact calculation errors consistently wreck entire net present value assessments.
So, let's diagnose the primary disease here, completely neglecting the tax shield effect on your corporate debt.
Skipping that post-tax adjustment artificially inflates your whack. It makes your discount factor way too harsh. Think about it. If your corporate tax rate is 20%, ignoring it drastically overstates your debt cost. This tax mistake actually compounds into our next major trap, confusing static book values with actual market values. You know, some analysts just pull book equity and debt straight off the statement of financial position. But look, market cap and bond market prices drastically shift those weightings compared to static book values. Here's the crucial point to remember. A bond's coupon is what it pays, not what it actually costs.
So properly weighting your average cost requires factoring in both market values and that absolutely crucial tax shield.
Okay, let's land the plane with some concrete, step-by-step instructions to calculate your post-tax cost of debt. First up, find the internal rate of return of after-tax cash flows against the bond's current market price. Then, you've got to incorporate the marginal corporate tax rate to capture those critical tax shield benefits.
Also, avoid mixing units like thousands versus millions, and please, never equally weight equity and debt.
So honestly ask yourself, how many profitable projects has your business wrongly rejected just this year?
Welcome to this explainer. Let's talk about how the AI tools meant to save time are actually burying us. Is AI actually saving time? Honestly, right now, we're just drowning in a sea of AI garbage. Enter work slop. It's that low-quality junk pumped out when AI lacks context, oversight, or a real purpose. Get this. Recent BetterUp research shows 40% of workers received work slop just this past month alone. But here's the wild part. 53% of us actually admit to sending work slop to others. And the real killer? People waste almost 2 full hours untangling each piece of this generated mess. Financially, that translates to about $186 lost per employee every single month. Ouch. For a large organization, we're talking a staggering $9 million in lost productivity every single year. So yeah, unedited AI content doesn't lighten your load at all. It literally multiplies your team's effort. You've definitely seen it, but what does a robotic, low-signal strategy report actually look like in practice? Watch out for words like delve, leverage, or pivotal. Those are massive red flags for AI autopilot. It's the difference between machine-generated fluff and a clear human-driven strategy that actually gets things done. Look, AI is amazing at generating drafts, but it's completely clueless when it comes to human judgment. The fix isn't ditching AI entirely. It's just better governance and actual human oversight. To stop the slop, let's walk through this super simple 3-point checklist for reviewing AI output. This quick process ensures your AI actually amplifies your work instead of completely taking it over. Step 1. Stay in the loop. You absolutely need a real person adding judgment and real-world examples. Step 2. Fact-check everything. AI loves to confidently hallucinate fake info, so always verify those facts. Finally, Step 3. Edit for voice. Inject your own personality and context so it actually sounds human. If your work helps someone make a decision, it has power. If it just fills space, trash it. So, as AI handles the boring stuff, are you defining actual meaning or just pumping out more slop?
So, let's dive into a massive illusion. You probably think your team is doing great right now. But here's the hook. Your employees aren't quitting, but they're literally breaking down on the inside.
Yeah, zero turnover isn't a win if your team is just silently collapsing from within.
Welcome to quiet cracking. It's officially the most dangerous HR trend for 2026, according to Talent LMS. Over 54% of employees feel this persistent unhappiness. That's a massive hidden crisis, right? Why do they stay?
Well, it's called job hugging, and it's driven entirely by economic fear.
It's crazy, but voluntary quit rates have actually hit their absolute lowest point since 2016.
Listen, this isn't quiet quitting. It's way deeper. It's a total, hidden emotional breakdown.
Picture this scenario. You're at an all-hands meeting, happily celebrating your super high retention rate.
But you're totally unaware that your absolute top performers are silently internalizing immense, crushing stress.
Meanwhile, their actual productivity, it's secretly dropped in half thanks to a thing called task masking.
Shockingly, 58% of employees admit they just pretend to work. They look busy but deliver nothing. Honestly, as a manager, you're probably entirely missing these subtle, hidden signs of deep burnout.
Time for the hard truth, folks. Retention simply does not equal engagement. Not anymore.
Here's what you do. Run an anonymous pulse survey this week, specifically asking your team about workloads.
This is exactly how you catch that simmering resentment before it completely explodes in your face. You've got to build real psychological safety, where people actually feel safe admitting they're totally overwhelmed.
Also train them. Recently trained employees are 140% more likely to feel secure.
You really need to shift performance metrics to actual value delivered, not just time spent online.
So, ask yourself right now, are your employees genuinely engaged or just way too scared to quit?
You know those beautiful, expensive YouTube thumbnails you make? Yeah, they're actually destroying your channel. Those safe, super polished brand guidelines you totally love, they simply do not work on YouTube today. See, there's this massive, costly gap between aesthetic, corporate designs and the harsh reality of mobile viewing. If a thumbnail doesn't create instant curiosity on a tiny screen, your click-through rate plummets hard. Without that instant pop, curiosity just dies immediately, and your click-through rate, it completely tanks. Imagine dropping $500 to have a designer craft a gorgeous, super intricate thumbnail. Well, that entire budget is totally wasted when absolutely nobody clicks on your video. The reality is brutal. That expensive design shrinks down on a phone screen, and the text blurs out. Sure, those details look incredible on a giant desktop monitor, but they're completely unreadable on a phone. So here's the absolute game changer. You've got to prioritize mobile clarity way over your brand aesthetics. The proven rules right now: high contrast, faces showing real emotion, and 3 to 4 words max. This brings us to the ultimate mandatory check before you ever hit publish: the squint test. Here's the trick. Shrink your next thumbnail down to the actual size you see on YouTube mobile. Now literally squint your eyes. If that text isn't instantly legible, nobody is going to click it. Go open your channel right now. Tell me, does your latest thumbnail actually survive the squint test?
Let's dive right in. Programmable money is quietly replacing traditional banking as we speak.
We're moving from old-school, static ledgers to autonomous, self-executing financial flows. The internet isn't just supporting finance anymore, you guys. It's literally becoming the bank.
The magic word here is tokenization. It puts real-world assets directly onto programmable blockchains.
By 2030, this tokenized asset market could hit a staggering $2 trillion.
That massive value brings everything from mutual funds to bonds directly on-chain.
Why? It unlocks 24/7 global settlement, completely bypassing those outdated banking hours entirely.
Institutions are actually building this today. JP Morgan's Connexes shows tokenized assets working much faster.
Let's look at a real-world example. Have you ever tried buying real estate? You usually get stuck for 30 agonizing days waiting on title checks and escrow delays. But a blockchain settles that exact same real estate transaction in just 2 seconds. Seriously, that's 30 days of friction wiped out by 2 seconds of programmable code.
What's driving this is a massive structural convergence happening right under our noses.
Traditional finance, or TradFi, is actively building bridges with decentralized finance, known as DeFi.
We're already seeing things like tokenized U.S. Treasuries and bank-issued deposit tokens settling instantly.
Try this today. Look up a tokenized asset platform to see these insane speeds yourself.
I'll leave you with this. If your assets settle in seconds, why do banking hours even exist?
Imagine buying a whole business, only to realize later they literally faked all their revenue spreadsheets. You drop millions on a massive deal, just to find out those financial reports were totally bogus. So here's the golden rule. Absolutely never accept a company's internal numbers at face value. Never. This nightmare actually happens, guys. Just look at the epic Enron scandal. Pure intentional financial deception. So, how's it happen? The fraud triangle. Management gets an incentive, spots an opportunity, and rationalizes it. Enron used super complex, secret shell companies and total sham transactions just to hide their massive debt. Enter the assurance practice. This independent process gathers rock-solid evidence to protect buyers like you from scams. Basically, an audit is your guarantee. It's an independent check proving those financial statements are actually true. You get different confidence levels here, ranging from high reasonable assurance way down to just factual findings. Think of auditors as financial detectives. Their built-in professional skepticism is your active shield against getting played. Okay, so before you ever invest a dime, due diligence is the deep dive that protects you. It totally covers your bases: financial, tax, legal, and operational. You gotta know exactly what you're buying. Digging into stuff like off-balance sheet liabilities is exactly what stops you from inheriting a financial disaster. Hey, ACCA candidates, if you want to crush these concepts on your exams, grab my finance notes now. So tell me, will you be the detective who uncovers the next Enron or the clueless victim?
All right, let's dive right in. You can literally build full apps now without writing a single line of code. Yeah, you heard me right. The days of desperately needing those traditional software development skills, they're officially over.
So you're probably wondering, how on earth are non-technical folks building complex platforms today?
Enter vibe coding. It's a massive 2026 tech trend that is completely democratizing the entire development process. An OpenAI founder coined the term. You just tell an AI exactly what you want, and it builds it. Forget complex syntax. The mechanics are super simple. You literally just talk to the AI using plain English. Powerful AI agents like Lovable and Replit let you whip up custom apps and full websites in just minutes. You can easily build membership sites, integrate Stripe payments, or add databases without writing a single line of code. And the best part? Prototyping your next big idea with these AI agents costs exactly $0.
Let's compare. You can spend thousands of dollars and wait months for a developer to build a basic tool,
while your competitor vibe codes that exact same working prototype over the weekend for absolutely free. Crazy, right?
Seriously, stop letting a lack of technical skills hold you back from launching your dream business idea. It's just so simple. Step 1, describe your vision. Step 2, sit back and let AI build it.
And step 3, you launch. It really is that straightforward to start your very first project today. So try using an AI agent today to vibe code a landing page. What will you build this weekend? All right, let's dive into exactly why crafting finance explainers is an absolute digital goldmine today.
With 30 states mandating financial ed and wild economic chaos, viewers are desperately seeking rapid answers. Gaming content struggles with a $3 RPM, but finance, it literally earns up to 6 times more.
The real secret? Hyper-specific explainers solving everyday workplace problems. Those hit massive $25 CPMs.
Your unfair advantage isn't a fancy studio. It's retention engineering. You've got to keep those brains locked in tight.
You need to capture attention instantly using the triple hook method before they even process your words.
Enter the Sticky 5 framework. It's basically the core psychological architecture for building highly addictive vertical shorts.
The absolute most crucial rule: quit while you're ahead. Never, ever linger after delivering the value. So how do we actually build this? Well, ditch the boring lectures and start engineering real, transformational stories.
Top creators win using formats like myth versus reality to trigger ambition. Let's look at a masterclass example.
Here's a strict 30-second plan. First, the hook. Rich people do not use standard financial advisors. Then, the payoff. The ultra-wealthy use private firms exclusively for their investments. Then say, but here's the catch.
You need at least $100 million. Boom. And instantly with, grab my finance notes to pass.
Another proven structure? Rapid-fire mnemonics. They instantly simplify incredibly complex accounting topics, like WACC.
Keep your pacing super tight. Hitting that 50 to 58-second sweet spot perfectly maximizes your session duration. Remember, simply reading notes causes failure. Your content must push viewers from passive watching straight into active progress.
To build this empire, use the optimal mix. Heavily weight shorts for awareness and use long form for trust.
This all requires a strict 90-day funnel. Shorts grab attention. Long form builds deep trust, and your emails monetize.
So, with this blueprint in hand, the only question left is, what financial concept will you explain first?